Welcome back to the Morning Blend. We've heard about diversity and inclusion lately, but what does it mean?
Joining us now with more information on the magnitude of diversity and inclusion, because it's not just about race, she says, is JC Ellis. She's an author, attorney, and game lifestyle advisor. Good to see you again, JC.
Hey, Molly and Tiffany, how are ya?
Good morning.
We're doing well. Looking gorgeous today, girl. I love it. I love that you say diversity and inclusion is not just about race, but the fact is that we all have unconscious bias. What do you mean by that?
Absolutely. So the first thing, diversity as a spectrum. So everyone has diversity, no matter your race, color. It's expanded, right, to include LGBTQ, different learning styles, people with special needs. So it's important to understand that empathy, we need empathy, care, and concern, right? And so empathetic people put on the shoes of others to try and understand what's going on. Empacentric people put on their own shoes and try and understand what's going on. So if you haven't acknowledged your place on the diversity spectrum, and we all have a place, men, women, no matter your race, color, religion, etc., then it's really hard for you to bring that care and concern into whatever it is you're doing, whether it's work, etc.
I think you make such a great point about the spectrum. I've never seen some of the things that you list as part of it. For example, things like relationship status, your hair color and texture, beauty standards, technology competence, which I always make fun of myself at work about. But you make such a great point about it including so much more than just race. And so I want to talk too about the fact that it's not about quotas or numbers, in your opinion. And you have a story about a team meeting with your favorite boss. It helps illustrate one of the points. And that point, you say, is you don't pay me to agree with you, do you?
Exactly. So when I was an HR executive, we had a team meeting with the leadership in Colorado. And so they let us ski in the morning, and then we had a break, and then we had lunch meetings, afternoon meetings, and dinner. So it was a very long day. So my boss at the time thought it was a boondoggle, even though this was planned by his boss. So he required us to have 6 a.m. meetings every morning. So after the first one, I said, whoa, dude, why are you punishing us? Because to get up and get ready for a 6 a.m. in your seat meeting, I had to get up at like 5 o'clock because, I don't wake up looking like this, right? So I had to get it together. And so he had never really thought about that. And I said, this is your boss's meeting, but we're the only group that's doing these extra meetings. And so because I challenged him, and I was the only person in the room that looked like me and the only person that spoke up. So it was a bold move on my part, but I did it. And from that, we developed a great relationship because he knew I was always going to speak my mind. And I would tell him, look, you don't pay me to agree with you, because sometimes I'm not going to agree with you. And if that's a problem for you, then this isn't going to work.
Good for you.
Yeah, and I think people respect, when you stand up for yourself and you have a conversation like that. So I love the fact that you shared that. The next one you mentioned is bust your own bubble. This is about sight and perception.
Exactly. So it's important for all of us to try and get into the conversation when it comes to diversity and inclusion. And again, it starts with acknowledging where you fit on the spectrum. So we all have to acknowledge, where am I? What am I working with? What am I dealing with? What's preventing me from seeing whatever this impediment or issue is that my colleague, friend, mate, etc. is facing? And so we have to step outside of our own bubble and maybe put on a pair of uncomfortable shoes. You see, I'm in my closet because everybody's home working, and I've got construction workers here. So I've got shoes here to show. Sometimes we have to put on a pair of uncomfortable shoes to say, I'm trying to understand this from your perspective, right? So that I can be empathetic instead of empacentric. And so we have to challenge ourselves and take a step back and go, let me check myself. Maybe it's me and my perception is off.
Yeah, that's the essence, I think, of empathy. You made that point so well. Talk about bathroom lines at stadium, because you're going to say something about fairness and equality. My mom always said when I was growing up, fair doesn't mean equal. So what might be fair for you and your brothers, for example, doesn't mean it's always going to be equal. What did you want to say about that?
That's right. So I read this book. It's called What If. I think the author's name is Steve Robbins. And he accidentally went into the ladies' restroom and he looked up and realized there were no urinals, right? So he left and went into the men's room. And then in doing that, he realized there were the same number of stalls in the ladies' room as the men's room. And we all know when we go to stadiums, et cetera, the line for the ladies' room is usually snaked out. So now, years later, there's more equality in that. It's not the same number of stalls, it's what's the need. So women, we always have to go into a stall where men don't. And so clearly at the time, there was probably not diversity in the people making those decisions in terms of what do the restrooms look like? We'll put 4 stalls in each one. Well, that doesn't make sense when it comes to what we need as women. So that's a basic. So you really want to make sure the pond you're working in can sustain whatever fish are swimming in the pond. Catfish, trout, rainbow trout, etc. Who's making the decision on what the temperature of the pond looks like, and are they considering everybody that's going to be swimming in the pond?
You have the best
That bathroom
stories.
one is great.
Yeah, best stories to illustrate your points. Thank you so much, JC. It's always a blast
Good
to
to
see
see you, JC.
Thanks, ladies. See you soon.
Thank you. Sounds great. And she is the author of the Black Diamond series if you want to check that out, all of those great books. All right.